It's not your imagination. Traffic is starting to pick up now that we've moved into phase two in most of the counties around the area. I had an opportunity to talk to Inrix Transportation analyst Bob Pishue about the movement that we're starting to see on the roads.
We have seen a dramatic drop off, Bob, when it comes to traffic from like the start of pre-COVID, but now things are really starting to ramp up. And I know I'm not the only one that notices that. Tell us a little bit about some of the research that you've been seeing.
Yeah, so obviously during this coronavirus crisis that we're in Seattle was one of the first regions to really get hit by it here in
Right.
the country. We did notice a large drop off in traffic from the big employers in the area saying, "Hey, we're implementing work from home," as well as the government restrictions. We saw traffic drop dramatically, but as you mentioned, it's starting to pick back up, especially in during those afternoon hours that we
Right.
typically see a bunch of traffic congestion.
Off of what you've seen research wise, do you think we're going to get back to normal, or do you think this is our new normal?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a while. So right now we're about 80 traffic, and the amount people travel is about 80% of what we saw pre-coronavirus.
Right.
So think end of February. We're still at about 80% of that. So we're still down 20%. So it even if we picked up another 20% or so, we'd still be about where we were beforehand. Now, normally in Seattle, we like to get out when there's really good weather in spring and summer. So normally we would see much higher levels than in the wintertime. So it would still be lower than what you'd expect for spring and summer.
So now, I mean, school's out, it's been out, essentially. But now I'm thinking like summer vacations and road tripping. Do you think that's going to really make a difference?
Well, yeah, and we have a number of factors here, right? So a lot of people are foregoing air travel. A lot of people are staying off of Amtrak. And so will they hop in their cars instead and maybe do a more local trip? We sort of don't know. We saw that Memorial Day, we did see a small uptick in the amount people travel, but it wasn't our typical Memorial Day traffic.
Right.
I do think people are going to get out for 4th of July. I think, however, this virus is sort of moving around. We're hearing reports, from some areas in Eastern Washington that this virus is still really prevalent and growing, in fact. So it all depends on where we are at in those phases. Locally, we really don't know quite yet where everything's going to land. But I will say, though, that I definitely expect an uptick in holiday traffic. It just might not be as large as we're typically used to around 4th of July.
So, if you were to put us in comparison with some of the other bigger cities, for instance, Chicago and New York, and maybe even Houston or Dallas, where do we fare here in Seattle compared to some of the other big cities?
So when comparing Seattle to some of these other major metropolitan areas like New York, we definitely see more people in New York, higher increases of people going to things like restaurants and parks and things like that. However, other areas like New York were hit really, really, really hard from coronavirus. And so their visits a week ago or 2 weeks ago were from a much lower baseline. So I would say in this region, we are getting out to parks, we are getting out. And so when you look at just the percentages, that might be a little deceiving because so few people were moving around in New York that literally a few people might be a big increase. So
Sure.
we're on track. We're moving, I think, in a positive direction, which is a good thing. But this is something that we're going to have to monitor as public officials sort of look at it from county by county to county on what can open up and what should remain closed.
So level with me here. I don't believe in it personally. For somebody that's been doing traffic here in Seattle for almost 20 years, I don't believe that we're just going to see an immediate rush back to normal. Personally, I think this is going to kind of last until at least till the end of the year. But with everything that you have from years past leading up to now, what do the trends say for this?
Yeah, so I think that you're absolutely right. The trends show a slow, as far as traffic is concerned, a slow return to normal. So it is going to take time.
Mhm.
Maybe when in very local situations like the West Seattle Bridge
Yeah.
issue, you're going to see traffic there most likely more than before, when even before the coronavirus in certain areas, because of those local conditions. But as a whole, I think it is going to be a long-term return to normal in traffic congestion here in the region, and not an immediate V-shaped return. It's going to be more drawn out, probably until the end of the year.
This is why I love working with Inrix, because we really work hand in hand when it comes to getting you guys the info that you need before you make that decision when you hit the road. So Bob, again, thank you for your time today. I certainly appreciate it. It's something that not only Bob's going to be watching there at Inrix, but I will be watching forever because clearly you know my passion for it. So Bob, again, thank you for your time.
I will continue to follow the trends and keep an eye on the roads for you every single day on KIRO Radio.